Straight ahead on CCX News, just before midnight, the legislative session ends. We'll break down the impact on local projects. Plus, caught on camera, neighbors helped nab package thieves in New Hope, and an ice arena reboot. We'll look at the makeover planned in Osseo. CCX News starts right now. Everyone, and thanks for joining us. The 2018 legislative session technically wrapped up late Sunday night, but the governor still needs to put his signature on several key pieces of legislation. And one of those bills is the bonding bill, which would provide funding for infrastructure across the state, including some major projects here in the Northwest Metro. Delane Cleveland joins us now to explain. Delane?
Mike and Shannon, that bonding bill would help fund more than $1.5 billion in public works projects across Minnesota. As it stands, New Hope would receive money for a 50-meter pool, and Plymouth would receive money to improve a section of Rockford Road over 494. The two cities are now anxiously awaiting the governor's next move.
We're optimistic and we're hopeful, obviously, because this infrastructure project for County Road 9 Rockford Bridge over 494 is very important to our community, safety-wise, and also just updating a 1965 bridge. So we're hopeful that we can get this done and not have to wait an additional year.
Plymouth City Manager Dave Callister is referring to the bridge that goes over Interstate 494 at Rockford Road. The bridge is deteriorating and it can no longer handle the current levels of traffic. So the city put in a bonding request to help fund improvements. If the governor signs the bill on his desk, Plymouth would receive more than $9 million for this project. Meanwhile, in New Hope, city officials put in a bonding request of $2 million to help build a new 50-meter regional pool that would benefit swim clubs throughout the area. Local lawmakers were able to negotiate the city's request into the bonding bill. If they don't get the governor's signature, the New Hope City Council will have some tough choices to make about whether the city really needs a 50-meter pool.
Without the signature, the vote in the council is going to be split probably. We know that with the $2 million we will for sure build 50 meters. Without it, that depends on whether or not we can justify the additional cost. So we're excited, but with a little trepidation.
One other notable project in the bonding bill is an $18 million request by Second Harvest Heartland to build a new warehouse in Brooklyn Park. Governor Dayton has 14 days to sign the bill. Mike?
All right, Delane, thank you. Another unanswered question is what happens to emergency school funding, a main priority of Governor Dayton. Robbinsdale area schools were one of the districts hoping to see extra funds. The district faces a $10 million deficit, which could mean layoffs to teachers. The Republican-led legislature did approve some school funds in a tax bill, a bill Dayton has promised to veto. The governor says it relies on accounting shifts and not new money for schools. Robbinsdale school officials say state funding has not kept up with inflation. So the 2018 session story is still to be written.
Other bills are also a target for a governor veto. Opioid abuse was a big topic at the Capitol, spurred by Brooklyn Center DFL Senator Chris Eaton. But it's unclear if anything will get accomplished on that issue. Opioid prevention and treatment programs were tucked inside a nearly 1,000-page omnibus bill, which Dayton says he will veto because of too many unrelated issues packed into it. Also, a bill to fix MNLARS, the driver and vehicle licensing system plagued by software issues, also didn't happen. The governor vetoed a bill that he says did not devote any money to fix the computer issues. And that tax bill also faces a governor's veto. Without a tax bill, the next filing season will be much more complicated and many taxpayers will see a hike in state taxes.
In other news now, New Hope police say they were able to solve a rash of thefts thanks to the help of neighbors.
We had very detailed descriptions of the suspects. We had very detailed descriptions and license plate of the vehicle.
And their cameras helped provide the descriptions of suspects who were stealing packages from front porches in New Hope last week. Police say they were getting repeated reports of package thefts north of 54th Avenue between Xylon and Utah. Others were reported in Brooklyn Park and Crystal. Police say it's a crime that can sometimes go unseen, but not this time.
This can be a very random crime with little or no evidence, but the key was the great block groups we have, the crime prevention groups. They were on top of it. They knew exactly what to look for, and those observations are what led to us getting a good outcome to this.
One witness got a license plate number that led police to the suspects. A man and a woman in their early 20s were arrested. It is sometimes hard to talk about race, but that's exactly what folks in the Osseo School District did on Saturday morning.
The district held its 5th annual community forum on race, and as Sonia Goins reports, the conversation as well as the solutions are not always black and white.
You can't just jump in and say, yes, let's talk about racism, white supremacy, white privilege.
Teachers, community leaders, and members of the police department gathered to have an open discussion about race.
Most of us only talk about racism when there's been some type of traumatic event.
Keynote speaker Juan Carlos Arauz is an expert on 21st century education, immigration, and black and brown male youth development.
You can't have educational excellence without equity. And what we've learned is that folks have a hard time sometimes to talk about equity part.
Equity and inclusion can be tricky in the Osseo School District, where nearly 55% of students are of color, but the teachers are mostly white.
I wanted to be part of the forum today because I feel like the Latino voice isn't necessarily at those places or at these spaces, and the fact of the matter is I have that perspective to give.
Jesus Ramirez is an equity specialist at Park Center.
There is no here or there. It's all of us, and in that paradigm, there's different ways of how this racial construct is impacting us.
That historical trauma is living in us as we speak today.
Arauz believes the racial divide can be solved in just one conversation, but says this is a good start.
There are people who are scared about what might happen when there's more diversity. People want to engage in a conversation, but I tell them, let's just practice inclusion. And then from there, we'll build relationship to then talk about diversity and equity.
In Maple Grove, Sonia Goins, CCX News.
Change is coming to the Osseo Ice Arena, and that is good news for hockey fans and players who use that building.
This is one of the old desiccant systems that we're going to be replacing, and the new system that we're going to be using is much smaller, so we're going to be able to take all this older equipment out of here and reuse a space up here for lockers for the boys and girls hockey teams.
The Ice Arena is getting a $2 million makeover that will be finished in October. Cost of the renovation is being split by the Hockey Association, the school district, and booster clubs. Most of the work will be mechanical improvements and locker room upgrades. But the facility was built in 2 phases. The original building opened in the 1970s and another addition came in the 1990s. There have also been a couple of renovations along the way. Building officials say the upgrades are long overdue and a lot of young hockey players will benefit.
Osseo Maple Grove Hockey Association, I understand to be the 2nd largest in the state. Oh, wow. And they've got over 1,000 students in their program, and we're partnering with them to serve the needs of our high school kids as well as the kids coming up through the Hockey Association.
In the future, there could be more major improvements such as a new ice refrigeration system. Still ahead, new business and new development in Maple Grove, including a new option for laundry services.
Plus, highlights from a big rivalry game in prep softball as Cooper meets Armstrong under the lights in Robbinsdale.
But first, the sun returns on Tuesday as well as those rising temperatures.
Businesses are starting to open up shop in the village at Arbor Lakes.
The first phase of the development gives consumers even more options along Elm Creek Boulevard. We talked to one of the first businesses in the new space in today's Business Matters.
When we opened up our first store, a lot of people would walk in and just ask us, do you sell Tide here? What do you do? Are you a laundromat?
Tide isn't just a brand of laundry detergent. Now it's a brand in dry cleaning.
Common responses are, oh, I love Tide. You know, my grandma used Tide, my mom used Tide. I love the smell of Tide. I'm really used to it.
Tide Dry Cleaning offers not only drive-through or walk-in service, but an option to pick up or drop off your clothes 24/7.
This is our 24-hour kiosk where you can pick up your clothes after hours. So we're open 7 to 7 during the week, but if you ever come in at, say, 10 o'clock at night and you forgot your suit for that business trip the next day, this is a good option.
This kiosk
desk is like a red box for your dry cleaning. Scan your QR code or enter a phone number and pick up your order at any time of the day or night.
I think technology is a big part of all services right now. We like to blend a little bit of both because we're still very hands-on, high service, high touch.
Tide Dry Cleaning is the third business to open in the village at Arbor Lakes.
The village at Arbor Lakes is a large mixed-use development that really rounds out the last corner of the Arbor Lakes area at the intersection of Elm Creek Boulevard and Hemlock Lane.
The first phase of the project includes 2 multi-tenant retail buildings. There's a nail salon and body contouring skin rejuvenation business already open, and more on the way.
They're looking to fill those with tenants that will serve not only the immediate area but also the broader community.
Also in the village, construction will begin soon on 2 Marriott hotels. Then there's office space, more restaurants and retail, a drive-through coffee shop, plus a Wings Financial Credit Union, all planned for this corner, giving consumers more options in an already robust commercial area.
Lots of possibilities, lots of opportunities and potential, and we're excited to see what might come.
The first restaurant announced for the site is a new concept to Maple Grove, a Japanese ramen noodle restaurant called Ichido Ramen. Just to the north of the village, a 700-unit luxury apartment complex called The Reserve is also planned. A lot going on there, Mike.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. It goes up fast.
It does. Still ahead, the sights and sounds of the Birdtown Half Marathon in Robbinsdale.
But first, one of this area's top prep baseball pitchers shuts down another opponent. John Jacobson has that story and more next.
I'm John Jacobson with sports. The Armstrong softball team looked to bounce back from a conference loss to Champlin Park in the Falcons' annual Robbinsdale rivalry game against Cooper Friday night. The Falcons and Hawks meeting at Robbinsdale's Spangers Park. Armstrong jumps out early. Top of the first inning, and Kelly O'Keefe drives it over the right fielder's head with the bases loaded. All 3 runners touch home on a triple for O'Keefe, and it's quickly 3-0. They'd add another run to go up 4-0. In the top of the second, Katie Lloydall lifts a fly ball to center field for Armstrong. And this one is deep enough to score Mary Isaac from third. Falcons seem to be in control, leading 5-0. But Cooper gets the bats going. Allie Adams strokes a hit to left to bring Emma Jennings home in the bottom of the second. And the Hawks pull within 5-1. Trailing 6-1, Cooper closes the gap in the bottom of the third. Maddie McGuire up, and her base hit to left scores Olivia Adams. The Hawks get 2 more runs in the frame to make it 6-4. We'll jump ahead to nighttime in the 7th inning. Armstrong adds insurance runs. Courtney Howe's dribbler scores a run. Falcons take a 9-5 lead into the bottom of the 7th. And it turns out they need those extra runs. Cooper rallies again with 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th. This sac fly brings them within 9-8 and gets the tying run to third base. But Armstrong holds on for a wild 9-8 win over Cooper. It is playoff time in softball and full speed ahead for section tournament play beginning Monday. Maple Grove is the number 2 seed behind Centennial in the Section 5 4A tournament. Rogers is seeded 3rd and Champlin Park 4th. Osseo is number 7 and Park Center 8th. The Section 5 tournament starts Monday with second round games Tuesday and the 3rd round on Thursday. In a big switch this year, the tournament games are all at the site of the high seeds. In Section 6 4A, defending champion Hopkins is the top seed. The Royals are followed by Edina, St. Louis Park, and Wayzata. Armstrong is the number 6 seed. Section 6 play also begins Monday with second round games Wednesday and third round play Friday at Hopkins. The later rounds are also at Hopkins. Benilde is the 3rd seed in Section 6 3A. No other local teams in Class 1, 2, or 3A are seeded higher than 5th in their respective sections. We'll have more on section softball all week here on CCX News. It's been a great spring so far for the Heritage Christian Academy baseball team. The Eagles have just 2 losses so far, and they took on Providence Academy. It was a great night for baseball at Clares Field. 3rd inning, the Eagles with a runner on third. A fly ball by Steph Sawtell, deep enough to score Johnny Flynn, who races in, slides in to score for a 1-0 Heritage lead. The Eagles add 1 more in the inning. Caleb Broderson Lacing this one the other way, Seth Halverson comes in to score, and it's 2-0 Eagles. Bottom of the 6th, Providence with 2 runners on, but Halverson gets the strikeout to end the inning. And then in the 7th inning, Halverson strikes out the side. He tosses a gem, giving up just 3 hits and striking out 13 in the game. Eagles win 4-1. In girls lacrosse, the Breck Mustangs faced a tough opponent as they tried to build on the playoff momentum. Breck hosted a good Chanhassen team in a non-conference game. The Mustangs get on the board first. Taylor Nelson to Eloise Cherian. She scores, and Breck is on the board 1:16 into the game. Natalie Ott had a big game, and she'll maneuver her way out front to score here. And Breck is in front 3-1. Ott will net another goal later in the first half on a very similar play. She scored 5 times in the game. Mustangs are up 6-5 at halftime. Second half, Rowan Hodgins attacks the net, and she scores for Chanhassen, tying the game at 6. The Storm gaining some momentum. Hodgins with 5 goals in the game. Midway through the second half, it's Chanhassen's Emma Silbernagel going low with this shot to score, and that makes it 8-6 Storm. Down 11-10 in the final seconds of regulation. Cherian ties it for Breck, and it's 11-11 with under 5 seconds to play, and the game heads to overtime. Chanhassen wins it there. Hodgins scores the game winner with 1:32 remaining in OT, and the Storm edges the Mustangs 12-11. That's it for sports. Mike and Shannon, back to you.
All right, thanks, John. Up next, a young runner's finish you have to see at the Birdtown Half Marathon.
Plus some nice prizes for the top half marathon finishers. We'll be right back.
And finally, some little birdies who were ready to run.
Some future competitive runners kicked off the Birdtown races in Robbinsdale on Saturday, and kids, some as young as 3 and 4 years old, took part in the Little Birdie Fun Run. Some had a little extra trouble getting out of the starting gate and needed a little extra encouragement, but when the more experienced runners took over, there was prize money on the line. Michael Hartnett of Richfield won the Birdtown Half Marathon with a time of 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 38 seconds. That's 5:51 per mile. The top female finisher was Jordan Skelly, a former collegiate runner at Winona State, with a time of 1:33.16. And watch this finish by one of the younger runners, stopping right before the timing mat. It turns out she wanted to wait for her family to arrive before crossing. Good for her. That'll do it. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
We'll see you back here again Tuesday, starting at 4.